Good evening and welcome to NewsNight. Tonight we'll have all your international, national, and local news. I'm Cade Montgomery.
And I'm Erin Ute. Here you'll hear more about a mistake kidnapping in Mexico that left 2 American citizens dead. We'll also have more details about an invasive species that's taking over Colombia.
We'll also have some more information about the most recent expedition that SpaceX embarked on. Hear more about the delays in its initial launch and the details about their trip.
All this and more coming up on NewsNight.
Ever since Pablo Escobar's ranch was abandoned after he was killed in 1993, hippopotamuses that were imported illegally from Africa by Escobar have survived and reproduced in local rivers and areas near this abandoned ranch. The hippos weigh up to 3 tons and are territorial. Colombia has proposed transferring at least 70 of the hippos from Colombia to India and Mexico in hopes of controlling the population. According to ABC News, scientists warn that the hippos do not have a natural predator in Colombia and are a problem for biodiversity in the area. Colombia's government declared the hippos a toxic, invasive species just last year. Lina Marcela de los Rios Morales, the director of Animal Protection and Welfare at Antioquia's Environmental Ministry, said that the plan to move them has been formulated for about a year now. ABC reports that the hippos will be lured with food into large iron containers and transferred by truck to the airport, where they will be transported by plane to India and Mexico, where there are many sanctuaries and zoos that are capable of taking care of them. According to the Antioquia Governor's Office, Ecuador, the Philippines, and Botswana have also expressed a willingness to help relocate the hippos to their countries. We will just have to wait and see just where all these hippos end up if these transfers do take place.
Concern is growing in Iran after reports emerged that hundreds of schoolgirls have been poisoned across the country in recent months. Last Wednesday, Iran's semi-official Mer News reported that Shahari Haidari, a member of parliament, cited an unnamed reliable source in saying that nearly 900 students from across the country had been poisoned so far. The first reported poisonings happened in the city of Qom on November 30th, when 18 schoolgirls from one high school were hospitalized, according to Iranian state media. In another incident in Qom on February 14th, more than 100 students from 13 schools were taken to hospitals after what the state-affiliated Tainism news agency described as, quote, serial poisonings. There have also been reports of schoolgirls being poisoned in the capital, Tehran, where 35 were hospitalized on last Tuesday, according to the Fars News. They were in, quote, good condition, and many of them were later released, Fars reported. State media also reported student poisonings in recent months in the city of Borjard and Chahamahal and Bakartari province. Many of the reports involve students at girls' schools, but state media have also reported at least one incident of poisoning at a boys' school on February 4th in Qom. Iranian Health Minister Bahram Holai, who visited affected students in Qom, said on February 15th that the symptoms included muscle weakness, nausea, and tiredness, but that the, quote, poisoning was mild, according to a report in state media outlet Iranian news agency. It is unclear if the incidents are linked and if the students were targeted. Even hundreds of years after their first exploration, the Great Pyramids of Giza still have some surprises. Reporter Brendan McNamara has all the details about what researchers have found.
Thanks, Erin. A hidden 9-meter-long chamber has been discovered inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. This discovery was made under the Scan Pyramids project, and since 2015, they have been using non-invasive technology, such as infrared cameras, 3D simulations, and cosmic ray imaging, to explore the interior of the structure. According to CNN, the findings could answer questions about the construction of the pyramid and the purpose of a gabled limestone structure that sits in front of the chamber. Scientists found this corridor through cosmic ray radiography, later sending a 6-millimeter wide endoscope through a tiny hole in the pyramid stones to take pictures. The Great Pyramid was constructed as a tomb around 2560 BC, under the reign of Pharaoh Khufu. The pyramid was originally built to a height of 479 feet, however today it stands at about 456 feet tall. It was the tallest structure in the world until the completion of the Eiffel Tower in Paris in 1889. According to Mustafa Waziri, head of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, the unfinished corridor was most likely created to distribute the weight of the pyramid around either the main entrance, which is now used by tourists, or around another yet-to-be-discovered chamber. There are 5 rooms on top of the king's burial chamber, which are also thought to have been built for weight distribution. It is also possible that there are more than one burial chamber. Back in 2017, researchers with scanned pyramids discovered a 30-meter-long void inside the pyramid, which was the first interior structure to be found since the 19th century.
Archaeologists in Cairo, Egypt discover an ancient shrine and a statue similar to the famous Sphinx. Estimated to have been built between AD 41 and AD 54, the features on the statue indicate that it's an original creation for the Roman Emperor Claudius. Along with the shrine and statue, a Roman-era stone slab with inscriptions of both Demotic and hieroglyphics and a mud brick basin from the Byzantine era. The findings from this will be featured as a tourist attraction as scientists are continuing to work on decoding the inscriptions to find out more about the piece and the era it was born from. A mistake kidnapping in northeastern Mexico has left 2 U.S. citizens dead and 2 injured. Reporter Juliana Brock has the details on this kidnapping and just how they're trying to catch the suspects.
4 U.S. citizens were kidnapped in northeastern Mexico on Friday. It was a case of mistaken identity, CNN learned from an official with knowledge of the investigation. The kidnapping was of the wrong victims and was considered a mistake. They had the wrong people. The Americans were mistaken for Haitian drug smugglers. The victims had all traveled to Matamoros in a white minivan with a North Carolina license plate. They went to Matamoros for medical procedures. There was a confrontation between the groups at the border where unidentified gunmen fired at the U.S. citizens and then detained them. The FBI is turning to the public for help in finding the unidentified gunmen. They are offering a $50,000 reward for finding and arresting them. One man has been arrested so far as he was found guarding the victims. The name given is Jose N., and his charges are unclear. The State Department advisory told CNN, quote, criminal groups target public and private passenger buses, as well as private automobiles traveling through Tamaulipas, often taking passengers and demanding ransom payments, end quote. There has been a lot of organized crime and violence in some Mexican cities since the Mexican drug war began in 2006. On the same day of the kidnappings, the U.S. State Department issued a Level 4 do not travel advisory for U.S. citizens thinking of going to Tamaulipas. It is even said that the 4 Americans were in a potential car crash before they were approached by the unidentified gunmen. 2 of the victims have died and the other 2 are back in America. The 2 who survived are identified as Latavia Washington McGee, who was unharmed, and Eric Williams, who had a gunshot wound to his leg.
In Veracruz, Mexico, there have been 340 people found in an abandoned truck. Of those 340, authorities have identified 103 unsupervised minors. All people rescued from the truck have been identified as unharmed and to have been given proper ventilation holes for breathing. The driver's location and any whereabouts are unknown, as well as the motive for this event. This past year, 53 migrants were found dead in a 16-wheeler, exactly like the one found this week. Also, that truck was said to have been on a very similar route to the truck that housed 340 people. Officials told the BBC that among these people are undocumented migrants and were all wearing color-coded wristbands to, quote, identify them to smugglers, clients, end quote. The migrants are being cared for by the Mexican Social Services until their statuses are updated. Coming up after the break, we'll have more of our reporters cover all your national news. Hear more about the Alex Murdaugh trial and what he exactly was convicted of. Also, hear the details of another train derailment in Ohio. We'll be right back.
Regular physical activity is one of the most important things you can do for your health. The benefits of physical activity include brain health, weight management, reducing disease, strengthening your bones and muscles, and improving your ability to do everyday activities. So, it's time to get up and be active.
Talk to me if you're feeling sad.
Thanks for hearing me out, bro.
Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
Texas mother Charlotte Johnson was left shocked when she discovered that her 10-year-old son Zai was taped to a chair by his teacher. NBC News reports that Zai was reportedly taped to his chair by his 4th grade teacher at Crosby Elementary School in Forney, Texas, which is around 30 minutes outside of Dallas, because he would not sit still during class. According to Zai, the teacher enlisted the help of 2 other students, one to hold him down and the other to get the tape. When the teacher left the class to return the tape, several classmates hit Zai over the head while he used his free arms to try to cover his head. Zai suffers from chronic migraines and dwarfism. Charlotte told NBC News, quote, "My son has dwarfism. He's 10, but he doesn't look like he is. He tells me one of the kids told him, 'I'm gonna slap you as hard as Will Smith slapped Chris Rock,' end quote." She continued on to say, quote, "I'm very emotional. I haven't had any sleep. That's something you don't do to a child," end quote. Zai complained that he had a headache and was then sent to the nurse, where he spoke about what had happened to him. The district said that once they were made aware of these claims, the teacher was placed on administrative leave, and police were contacted to investigate. District spokesperson Kristen Zastopol said that since his arms were free, the incident does not meet the elements of the criminal offense of unlawful restraint, and criminal charges will not be filed at the time. The district confirmed that the teacher is no longer with the district.
More than 50 Cleveland firefighters responded last Wednesday morning to a large blaze with multiple explosions in a warehouse in the city's Clark-Fulton neighborhood. Crews were dispatched to a fire at the A.J. Rose Manufacturing Company in the 3100 block of the West 38th Street at 9:05 a.m., Lieutenant Mike Norman said. As firefighters finished extinguishing the flames at 10 a.m., smoke continued to billow out of the shattered windows. In a statement, the company said, quote, "We are very grateful that no one was hurt in this incident. The safety of everyone in our facility is always a top priority," end quote. The company said the fire caused some nitrogen tanks used in the tooling process and propane tanks used for forklifts to explode. More than 20 employees were inside the warehouse when the fire started. Several employees suffered minor injuries but refused treatment, he added. The company is a supplier of precision products and assemblies for the automotive, truck, and agricultural industries. A.J. Rose is headquartered in Avon. Neighbors were not evacuated, but the siding of a home on Clark Avenue next to the warehouse started to melt. One person was killed and at least a dozen people were hurt on February 20th in an explosion at a fire at I. Schumann & Company, an Oakwood manufacturing company. On February 18th, a boiler at a Cleveland Cliffs plant exploded in Warren. East Palestine, Ohio has been making headlines this past month as they continue to clean up the chemical spill from last month's train derailment. Brendan McNamara has additional details about a second train derailment just 80 miles from the first.
Thanks, Aaron. Barely a month after a freight train carrying toxic vinyl chloride derailed in East Palestine, Ohio, which sent plumes of smoke into the air and other pollutants into the ground and water, another train derailed this time in Springfield, Ohio, about 80 miles northeast of Cincinnati. The Norfolk Southern train of 212 cars was traveling from Bellevue, Ohio to Birmingham, Alabama when it went off the rails around 5 p.m. local time. A total of 28 rail cars jumped the tracks, none of which were carrying toxic chemicals. Officials issued a precautionary shelter-in-place order for anyone who lived inside a 1,000-foot radius of the derailment. Craig Barner, a general manager from Norfolk Southern, said that the train had 4 tankers that carried non-hazardous materials. 2 of them had small amounts of diesel exhaust fluid, while the others had small amounts of a polyacrylamide water solution. A hopper carrying non-toxic plastic pellets overturned, spilling some of them. The rest of the train included a few liquid propane and ethanol tankers, as well as boxcars with mixed freight, steel, and cars that did not overturn. Many of the cars that derailed were empty boxcars. The cause of the crash has not yet been determined. However, the Federal Railroad Administration and the National Transportation Safety Board are investigating.
The 6-week Alex Murdaugh trial has been concluded. On Friday, March 3rd, Alex Murdaugh was sentenced to life in prison for the slayings of his wife and son. Judge Cliff Newman handed down 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole less than 24 hours after Murdaugh was found guilty of using a rifle to kill his wife Maggie and a shotgun to kill his 22-year-old son Paul. The 2 were found dead at the family's Moselle hunting estate in South Carolina's Low Country region in June of 2021. Murdaugh has been convicted on 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of using a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. As of Friday, Murdaugh began being processed into a Columbia prison. SpaceX's most recent launch took off from Florida to dock at the International Space Station. Reporter Alex Zonizer has more details about the SpaceX and its expedition.
SpaceX recently launched its Crew Dragon capsule with 4 people on board from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The capsule took 9 minutes to reach 17,500 miles per hour and escape Earth's gravity. It was originally scheduled to launch on Monday, February 27th, but was rescheduled due to a ground filter which pumps the ignition fluid into the rocket clogged. The capsule is called Endeavour. This is the 4th overall time that it has been sent to space. The crew is docking at the International Space Station, where they will spend at least 6 months there conducting research and experiments. The group of the Crew 6 mission consists of 2 NASA astronauts, a Russian cosmonaut, and an astronaut from the United Arab Emirates. They will relieve the 4 people of the Crew 5 mission who have been there since October.
The Biden administration has decided to go forward on a challenge to new trade law in Mexico regarding corn production. Mexico, after adopting a more eco-friendly policy, plans to phase out the purchase of genetically modified corn by 2024. However, with Mexico being the 2nd largest consumer of U.S. corn, the U.S.'s genetically modified corn, 90% of all corn trade exactly, is on the chopping block. To counteract this, the U.S. is consulting the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement and claiming that this ban does not adhere to the promise of scientific research baking the ban. If a conclusion is not met, this could lead to a formal dispute against Mexico from the U.S. Stick with us through the break to hear your local Pittsburgh news. Hear more about a shooting in McKeesport that claimed the lives of 3 men. We'll also hear the details about another closing Pittsburgh restaurant after nearly 7 decades. We'll be right back.
Feel the beat of nature at a park or forest near you. Find a forest and music inspired by nature at discovertheforest.org.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Daybreak. Chicken Guy opened in PPG Place on Monday.
The bridge would open before the 1-year marks to check out the 20th annual gingerbread display.
Share with you this week's Ray of Sunshine.
We are still somehow hanging around in the playoff.
It gives Georgia Democrats some hold onto the governing body.
200,000 people still in harm's way.
This weather is perfect for those cozy nights indoors.
Hey!
I'm an actor in an ad that was given 12 seconds to remind you that if you're high, just don't drive. Because if you feel different, you drive different. It's illegal to drive high everywhere anyway.
car colliding with an Amish horse and buggy sent the buggy off the road last Tuesday in Indiana County. WTAE reports that the crash took place a little bit after noon on Tuesday, February 28th on Route 210 in South Mahoning Township. Police reported that a 28-year-old was traveling in a vehicle from Wexford behind a horse and buggy when he fell asleep at the wheel. Shortly after he began to fall asleep, he crashed into the back of the horse and buggy, sending it off of the road. The horse and buggy were being operated by a 65-year-old woman who suffered a minor suspected injury, and police confirmed that the horse was not hurt. Pennsylvania is known for having the largest Amish settlement located in Lancaster and is one of the 3 states, along with Ohio and Indiana, which contains 2/3 of the United States Amish settlements. Due to the statistics, it's not entirely uncommon to see a horse and buggy being operated in the state. Lancaster Online reported that in Lancaster alone between 2008 and 2017, there were 189 crashes involving horse and buggies, resulting in 4 deaths. This is lower than the previous decade, which recorded 215 crashes and 10 deaths. Hopefully this number continues to lower and those operating a horse and buggy in Pennsylvania can do so with little risk.
2 unrelated shootings left 3 men dead and 1 other injured in McKeesport on last Wednesday, Allegheny County Police said. While the shootings happened less than 1 hour of one another and were close by, police said they're not connected. Allegheny County Police said first responders found a 47-year-old man with a gunshot wound to the head on Versailles Avenue after 911 got a call about a shooting shortly after noon. The man was taken to the hospital and was later pronounced dead. Around 1 p.m., police said another call came in for a shooting near the 50 building of Crawford Village, less than a mile away. First responders found 3 men shot. A 22-year-old man was pronounced dead at the scene, and a 30-year-old man who was shot in the chest and taken to the hospital in critical condition died hours later. An 18-year-old who was shot in the leg was taken to the hospital and is in stable condition. The 22-year-old was identified as Jared Duncan, while the 30-year-old was identified as Jordan Eubanks. On Facebook, the McKeesport Area School District said that the McKeesport Area Senior High School, Founders Hall Middle School, and Twin Rivers Elementary went into an exterior lockdown because of nearby police activity. The district said it was notified of the 2 separate incidents involving police and said that there were no active shooters. Dismissal for the high school and Founders Hall Middle School began at 2:30 p.m. on time, and transportation routes were delayed because of the heavy police presence, the district said. There have been no words on any suspects in either shooting, but police said that there's no known threat to the public. The final victim has not yet been identified. A trailer fire in North Fayette Township has left a man dead and his pets dead. Juliana Brock has more details about what his neighbors saw when the fire broke out.
A house fire killed a man and his 2 pets around 12:30 on Monday night. It was a trailer on Valley View Drive in the Redwood Estates mobile home community in North Fayette County Township. The man's next-door neighbor, Patsy Kurgel, told KDKA that he went outside shortly after midnight to have a cigarette and was shocked to be greeted with flames and smoke coming from his neighbor's trailer. He immediately called 911, knowing that the man and his pets were still in there. Firefighters were on the scene within 10 minutes, but it was unfortunately too late. The man was trapped in there and could not escape in time. Assistant Fire Chief Brandon Wharton told KDKA that by the time crews arrived, the home was, quote, fully engulfed with fire blowing out the door and thick smoke pouring into the sky, end quote. Wharton said mobile home fires are harder to fight than regular homes, and by the time a fire starts, it is not long until the entire home is destroyed. Neighbors are devastated over the loss of their friend and his pets. Some say they can't bear to look at the remains of the home. The identity of the man has not been revealed yet, and the investigation continues to find out what started the fire.
The Monongahela Incline has finally reopened. According to the Trib Total Media, the incline reopened Monday at 7 a.m. after being shut down since August 1st. Original plans had the incline reopening in November. Its services were slotted to start at 5:30 a.m. on Monday, but mechanical issues delayed service, according to a spokesperson for Pittsburgh Regional Transit. The incline underwent an $8.2 million renovation project to modernize the mechanical controls and electrical system, as well as upgrading the interiors of upper and lower stations. The project included the installation of exterior track lighting and some other updates to the 1870 historic funicular. Catherine Kellerman, PRT's CEO, told the Trib, quote, "The Mont Incline has served generations of Pittsburghers for more than 150 years and holds a special place in the hearts of locals and visitors alike. These renovations will help preserve the incline's historic charm and ensure that it's able to safely and successfully operate for another 150 years, end quote. Another Pittsburgh restaurant will be closing its doors for good. Alex Zornizer has more details about the location and its over 50-year history.
Vento's Pizza closed permanently on Saturday, March 4th. This Pittsburgh restaurant has been thriving for nearly 7 decades of making pizzas and hoagies. This became a hub for Franco's Italian Army, the official fan club for the late Franco Harris. This club was created by owner Al Vento and his business partner Tony Stagno in 1972 for Harris to celebrate their Italian heritage. Harris was good friends with Al Vento, with Vento even recalling that Harris visited his father in the hospital during Christmas time. Vento's posted on their Facebook page saying, quote, "The Vento family would like to thank the people of East Liberty for 67 years of friendship and service. We will be permanently closing on Saturday, March 4th. Stop by and see us before we lock our doors one last time," end quote.
A woman and a man who were killed in what police are treating as a murder-suicide in Penn Hills on last Tuesday have been identified. Rosemary Washington, 62, and Thomas Washington, Sr., 63, were found in a home on the 100 block of Conestoga Road, according to the Allegheny County Medical Examiner. According to a news release, Penn Hills police were called to a home for a welfare check. Once on the scene, first responders found the woman and man dead from gunshot wounds, according to the police. The Allegheny County Medical Examiner's office has not released the cause or manner of death. Anyone with information on this incident is asked to call Allegheny County Police at 1-833-ALL-TIPS. After a short break, we'll have a sweet story about an elderly woman who stood up for a tree in her neighborhood. We'll also be sure to give you the rundown for Pittsburgh's weather this week. Stay tuned.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too
Sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
Last week in England, workers arrived in Virginia Hanley's neighborhood with the intention to chop down a healthy willow tree, according to the Good News Network. As the workers prepared to chop down the 61-year-old tree, 70-year-old Hanley looked out her window and was shocked. Local council decided to remove the willow due to issues at a nearby property. Swale Borough Council sent the workers to remove the tree within 4 hours. But instead, Hanley grabbed her walking stick, a chair, and quilt, then bundled up for the cold and sat herself at the foot of the tree. This was quite the act of defiance, as Hanley lives with nerve malfunction from a previous car accident that left her unable to walk long distances. After refusing to move, Hanley was told that the council had assumed the willow caused a neighbor's porch and house to subside after their insurance company inspected the property and blamed the tree. However, Hanley's home had experienced the same thing, and when experts dug up her home, they said it wasn't the willow tree. Hanley was sure the same was true for her neighbor. As of now, the tree is still up and thriving. A Swale Council spokesperson confirmed that despite the protest, they believe that it's necessary for the willow to be taken down. The council does plan to replace the tree in a practical, suitable location, but Hanley is not ready to give up. Quote, "If they try and take this tree down, I'm going to be sitting under it. I've got to do what I said I would do because it's the right thing to do," end quote. With high temperatures in the 60s and lows in the 30s, I think it's safe to say that Pittsburgh weather has been a bit unpredictable lately. Not sure when to bundle up or when to break out your Bermudas? Weather reporter Devin Ami has all the details.
Thanks, Cade. Let's kick it off with tomorrow's weather. Tomorrow's high will be a cool 48 degrees. The sun will be partially out, just hidden by a few clouds. Luckily, we won't be seeing any rain or snow. The wind won't be too brisk either, and according to AccuWeather, the real feel of the shade temperature is 49 degrees. Temperatures overnight will drop to 31 degrees though, so be ready to change. The skies will get cloudier as the day goes on, and the chance of rain will increase to 25% in the evening. Now let's switch it over and look at the rest of the week's forecast. For the rest of the week, the temperature will remain pretty level. Friday, we can expect some slight rain, and Thursday will be our only day of sunshine. Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are all predicted to be pretty cloudy, with Sunday only having a slight peek of the sun. There's also a 60% chance of rain on both Saturday and Monday, but the rest of the days seem to be clear. That's all I have for you tonight. Back to you at the desk.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of NewsNight. If you want to see more, check out our social media pages on both Facebook and Instagram at UView Television.
You can also check out more episodes on our YouTube channel or our website, uview.pointpark.edu. I'm Erin Ute.
And I'm Cade Montgomery. From everyone here at NewsNight, thank you for watching and have a great evening.